All right, I did this last year and I really liked it, where the Goodreads Choice Awards sci-fi category in particular is really rough if you are someone who reads in the sci-fi genre and you're trying to figure out what were the popular cool releases that came out. It highlights some of them, but for the most part it kind of picks these weird literary speculative fiction books. And I'm not here to gatekeep what is science fiction, but you do know if you read space opera, that is always criminally underrepresented in the Goodreads Choice Awards. Similar, sci-fi thrillers, adventure sci-fi, there are parts of science fiction that are just not represented in the Goodreads Choice Awards. And so what I wanted to do is now it's, this part of 2025, and yes, more 2025 releases are coming on the horizon, but I wanted to go through, look at the Goodreads picks that I think, are maybe worth looking into as a sci-fi reader, look at some sequels that weren't highlighted, and then start talking about some standalone starts and series that did come out this year. So this is a hefty video. There's a lot. There's a lot here. I'm going to try my best to give us a gist of what's going on, but have a snack, sit down. If you have been looking for what have I missed this year, let this be a good video for you. So let's start with what did exist on the Goodreads Choice Awards. We have Death of an Author by Nnedi Okorafor. This is actually a sci-fi author who is writing a book that I think on average wouldn't usually be considered science fiction by a lot of genre readers. I say that having not read it, but it's about an author going through rough stuff in life and family and starts creating a book, I believe unlike any book she's ever written, and it involves AI or robots. And some things start to maybe bleed into the real world, but I don't know if it's actually bleeding or if it's that literary fiction bleeding. And based off reviews, I think it is more the latter with the literary fiction bleed over. But that one's there. It has beautiful covers. I do kind of hope maybe that this is the one that wins. I think that'd be cool, especially just because Nnedi Okorafor is a juggernaut in the sci-fi genre. We have The Dream Hotel. So this is one by a literary fiction author that most people are saying that yes, you can think of this as dystopian science fiction. So I'm believing people at face value there. I've read The Other Americans by this author, and that was definitely general fiction. So this is about someone who gets put into a prison for a crime they haven't committed yet. So it's that whole predictive pathway. I read another book earlier this year, More Perfect by Temio, that used something similar. So it's the being arrested for the probability of a crime instead of the actual crime. We have Luminous, which is about a unified Korea. And we have 3 siblings, 2 that are human, 1 that's a robot. This reminded me at first of a Jinbot and Shantyport, because that was also a sibling robot dynamic. Also, this theme of 3 siblings kept creeping up when I was looking at synopses. So, obviously 3 is a magic number when you're talking about narrative framework and structure. But yeah, so we have 3 estranged siblings, a unified Korea, and I don't know much more than that. I do think this one's probably more speculative literary, but I could be wrong. We have Salt Crop. Again, 3 siblings. 2 of them are trying to find one who in theory maybe has the solution for fixing the environmental problems on Earth. This is a climate science fiction where we are in a state where a lot of things are underwater because of the environmental problems. One of the only, I think, space operas, true space, maybe there's a second space opera. There might be 2 space operas that were put in the 20 books nominated for the Goodreads Choice Awards. We have Shroud by Adrian Tchaikovsky. There's a moon. It's a moon that is really cool, but also, in theory, very deadly to humans. But for reasons, 2 humans get crash landed on this moon. And there's going to be, some alien contact or first contact situations. It's the first time in a while that I've read an Adrian Tchaikovsky description where I'm like, that actually sounds kind of fun. I don't think I've read a book by him where it has, a lot of high tension. And I do find a lot of his works overwritten for me. But this one seems interesting. I'm going to keep my eye out on more reviews from it by people who have similar tastes to me. I do think Tchaikovsky fans like this book, which is good for them. We have the Scalzi. I'm only going to talk about one of the Scalzis because the other one is the 5th or something book in a series. But this is When Moon Hits Your Eye. So this is your popcorn satire comedy sci-fi, kind of like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy sort of thing. I haven't read any Scalzi, but that's the vibe I get. And this is about what if the moon was suddenly made of cheese. I don't really know. I haven't really seen glowing reviews, but he's a very popular author in the space. I'm not going to talk about the Old Man War sequel, but I guess that's also a space opera. We have Automatic Noodle. This is a cozy sci-fi novella about robots who start running like a noodle cafe, and it's like post a bunch of war stuff that has happened. So I think it's like about like recovery from war. Like it's like basically the falling action after a conflict and what these robots choose to do. And so I'm cautiously curious about it. I tried reading The Terraformers, didn't love it, did DNF after 100 pages, but it wasn't because I hated the writing style. So a potential, especially since for my Reddit bingo, I haven't read a cozy book yet this year. And although it is a cozy book by an author I've read before, even though I DNF'd the book. So it doesn't count for hard mode. Doesn't mean I won't read it, but now it's not as useful for that challenge. We have Hamajan's Luck, which is a one last job adventure sci-fi. He just gets out of jail and someone's like, but we got to do this one last job. And I think Ocean's 8 meets something was a comp for it. So it's, more of an adventure sci-fi. This is probably one of the only, there's might be like 2 adventure sci-fi on this list. The next one being Of Monsters and Mainframes, which a lot of people in my comments really like. And I'm kind of curious about it. So this is like, it's a spaceship who, I think this ship's name's Demeter, and they need to work together with other people on the crew of different skill sets to figure out what's causing the bad stuff to happen, which is maybe like a Dracula type figure. It seems like it's a fun time. So yeah, there's a lot of paranormal murders happening. The ship needs to figure it out. It gets a team together to try and figure out the culprit. The culprit might be Dracula. So those were the ones on the Goodreads Choice Awards where I'm like, yes, I think if you're a sci-fi lover, there is value in a lot of these picks. Not that there's not value in the other ones, but I think these ones, like if you were someone being like, what were the popular sci-fi releases that I've missed? These ones make sense. Let's get into some sequels, because those just never get love on the Goodreads Choice Awards. And some of these I've read, some of these I haven't. One is Tio's Darumi. I love this book. I love the whole duology. The first book is Ocean's Godori. It's an adventure space opera book, found family, very like, I don't know, it's Korean American and also Firefly, but it's mostly like, so Ocean is like the best pilot, and she also has a very like stoic, at a distance personality, except if she's in your corner. And I just really love Ocean. She's so good at what she does, and she's so removed and stoic. And then Tio is her best friend, and he is gregarious and he's charismatic. And there are things that happen at the end of the first book that we need to unfurl, and you get a lot of great character moments and found family, and it's a good time. A series I haven't read yet, but I think it's like Cleopatra and Julius Caesar in Space, is the sequel to Stars Undying, The Sea Eternal. I haven't read either of these, but it's on my list of things I want to get to. We have the last book in, I forget what the name of the series is, but it starts with These Burning Stars by Bethany Jacobs, The Brutal Moon. So this is a completed trilogy. I think it's more space opera adventure. I'm very curious about it. A bunch of people in my Discord really like the first book. I know a bunch of people who've been reading the series have been really enjoying it. So I'm pumped. A sequel I have read is The Potency of Ungovernable Impulses by Malka Older. Such a good novella. It's the longest one of the 3 novellas. Maybe it's almost border length, novel length, but I don't get to see how many words is in it. I just get to see the pages, and it looks more like a novella to me. Really like it though. I really enjoyed this installment. We also have Infinite Archives. I'm forgetting what this one is for. It's the sequel to Station Eternity. This is a murder mystery sci-fi series similar to The Potency of Ungovernable Impulses. I don't read these, but I know a lot of people who love murder mystery books like this sci-fi murder mystery series, and this is the newest release in that one. A series that I love that nobody reads. So The Immortality Thief was the first book, and we got the sequel this year, The Unkillable Princess. Space opera, adventure, found family, tense, horror elements, thriller elements, heisty elements. The first book's more horror, the second book's more heisty. It's so much fun. And then, let's see, there is this series that is really popular, but I've never read. Like, it has a lot of ratings on Goodreads. But it's The Full Speed to a Crash Landing, I think is the first book, and the newest one is Last Chance to Save the World. And it's apparently a novella trilogy of sexy space heists and romantic tension. So if you want a heisty romance novella series, the third one's out, and it's fairly loved. All right, so those are out of the way. Now let's get into Standalone starts to series that I've both found on my own by just moving around the internet. People in my Discord have recommended, and they're all over the place. So we have first, from the author who gave us Mickey 7, The Fourth Consort. It's first contact, dark comedy with a love triangle. And Mickey 7, I mean, I haven't read the book, but I watched the movie Mickey 17, and if there's any correlation between the tone, it's a pretty weird, satirical, funny tone. And I'm curious about The Fourth Consort, actually. We also have Future's Edge. I actually own this book on my TBR. So we're past the end of the world. Humans are refugees in other places. And this archaeologist needs to kind of do an Indiana Jones thing and go find this artifact that infected her with a disease to help save humanity for some reason. It's pretty short. And it's by like a fairly well-known sci-fi author in the space. We have Murder by Memory. This is a murder science fiction that's been fairly popular this year. I think it's one of those, is it a novella, is it a novel, short works that a lot of people have been liking. I think Miss Marple comes up a lot as a comp for it. Another one that's on my TBR right now that I haven't read yet is Where the Axe is Buried by the author of the Octopus thriller book and the Mammoth thriller book. No, Mammoth thriller book's not really a thriller book. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but you see his name, Ray Naylor. So he's been writing more and more. This one seems to be more of a just tried and true political science fiction. Government systems are crumbling. What are the side effects of that? What do we build in its place? What are the complicated intricacies of all of that? I'm very curious. The cover is also stunning. We have one I hadn't known about, which is Symbiote. It's in Antarctica. So if you're doing a Herked and you're like, I need a book in Antarctica, and like you don't have to for Herked, but like this is in Antarctica. I was getting the Thing vibes when I was reading it, but the comps they actually said was like Contagion meets The Walking Dead. But basically sci-fi, thriller, unknown entity, pathogen or otherwise, in the cold, you know, that sort of thing. One that I don't know if I'm actually interested in, but it had a really good like back of the book sort of thing, and that's The Third Rule of Time Travel. So this is kind of, I think, a sci-fi thriller about how, like, in theory, someone figures out a way for you to be able to observe your past. But you can only do it for a certain amount of time, and there's a certain number of rules, and in theory, these rules are meant to prevent the future from being changed. But they learned that, kind of just like quantum mechanics, just observing has unforeseen effects. And what does that mean? One that came up a lot as a literary science fiction that people are loving that wasn't on the Goodreads list is Down in the Sea of Angels. It's a time-hopping dystopian fantasy with 3 individuals who are psychically linked through time. I was getting a lot of... I was being reminded of like David Mitchell and Cloud Atlas when I was reading the description of this and stuff like that. I don't know how much overlap there is in the style, but like that vibe is what I was being reminded of. We have a short story collection, Portal Mania, which I literally just put on this list because they were like, if you like Carmen Maria Machado. And I'm like, well, I do. So it's just, you know, speculative fiction, sci-fi tinged short stories. If anyone who, like me, likes short stories has read this, let me know if it's any good. We have One Yellow Eye. So this is a kind of unique zombie book. The main character's husband gets infected with this contagion that turns him into a zombie, but she's trying to keep it hidden and maybe try to find a cure. And I think it gave me a little bit of like thematic Frankenstein vibes, but with zombie. And I don't know if that's what it is because I haven't read it, but that was the energy I was getting. But I also just watched the new Frankenstein movie, so it's just on the brain a little bit. We have All the Water in the World, so another climate sci-fi about things being underwater, because that's just going to be on our collective consciousness for a while. This seemed more community-focused literary fiction about stories and how you keep things going. I don't know for sure if that's true, but that's the only vibe I got from reading the back of it. We have We Lived on the Horizon. So someone who's a bioprosthetic surgeon and their personal AI, they get wrapped up in this war inadvertently. Like they have nothing to do with this background war that's starting, but they keep being in like the wrong place, wrong time. And they notice that the CDE AI like erased a brutal murder. And that's like the thing that starts this cascade of events that they are now suddenly wrapped up in. And I believe this individual is like nearing retirement. Like the goal was to not be involved in things. We have Two Truths and a Lie. This is a noir and cyberpunk in downtown LA. And basically the main character is trying to help their former lover from being accused of a crime that they don't even know if their former lover committed or not, I believe. So that's the vibe for that one. We have the new Ken Liu, All That We See or Seem, which has gotten all of the mixed reviews, okay? But it's a sci-fi thriller. That's all I know, and it's by Ken Liu. And it has mixed reviews, but I have an arc of it. So another one that's, on my TBR. The next one is Notes from a Regicide. So this is a literary queer historical science fiction. And it's queer in the sense that I believe the character is trans and discovering their transness. I don't know a lot else from it based on reading what I saw on Goodreads, but that's kind of the stuff it brings to the table. We have The Two Lies of Faven Scythe, and this is a standalone space opera. Basically the standard, a missing person leads to the unraveling of a conspiracy theory sort of situation. We have Sunward, which is a cozy. It's a debut about a courier who's training these, what he deems adolescent robots, and it's in a world post-recovery from our moon exploding. So again, it's another cozy that's like recovery from a trauma, like the falling action, through the lens of this person training adolescent AI. We have the new Shauna McGuire or Mira Grant, and that's Overgrowth, which is an alien invasion story. Despite the fact that it shouldn't be surprising, people were warned by this individual who was like, I am an alien. And everyone ignored them, and now this alien's parents are coming to town. And since it's Mira Grant, I assume it's going to have more horror tinges, because that's typically her horror author name. And then we have two more. When We Were Real, which is a road trip of two friends in a simulated world with a bunch of other people going on a pilgrimage, and I'm sure it's nothing like Hyperion, but that's all I could think about. Just a bunch of people going on a trip together. We're probably going to learn everyone's stories. Things are probably going to be weird and amiss. And yeah, that's what I got. And then we have An Unbreakable World, which is about a thief who is kidnapped by her mark, tale as old as time, adventure science fiction. So yeah, those are just brief ideas, vibes, synopses. I don't promise 100% accuracy, but hopefully now these things are on your radar. You can do more research. You can let me know if you've read any of these and who you would recommend them to, spoiler-free, in the comments below. And if you want to add to this list, what were 2025 releases that you have read this year that you would recommend to people? And otherwise, if you just want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here, leave a galaxy emoji. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.